England against New Zealand, T20 World Cup preview with myself, Steve Wyss, and cricket expert and sports expert Kevin Harper. So, Kev, this is the real juicy game of the day in this Cricket World Cup. Plenty at stake for both teams, especially for England. It's going to be played at the GABBA, local time, kickoff 7 p.m. So by then, it should be, the rain should be clear. Shouldn't be too much of a problem here. Outfield probably dried up a bit. Looking set for a full game of cricket at the GABBA, and this is two proper teams playing at the GABBA. I know, the Bangladesh match the first time it was here, and obviously this Sri Lanka against Afghanistan. It's Asian nations here. This is like two cricket teams who are more used to these sort of conditions. So will we see a different type of Australia Ireland as well? It was more like David against Goliath. This could be a really spicy encounter, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could, Steve. Yeah. For New Zealand, it's a free hit, isn't it? But for England, all the marbles are in play here. If England lose this, it's adios. And that's not what they came here for. They didn't come here to go out in the group with a game to go. So, everything on the line for England. Yeah, I think we are going to see a good game. This was a semi-final last year, wasn't it? Which was an epic game of cricket. And generally, when these two meet, and they've met a lot in all sorts of formats over the last sort of 2, 3, 4 years, they're always good games of cricket, and don't see any different here.
This match is under lights. We've seen that ball in this tournament swing a hell of a lot, especially under the lights. That's not going to change, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not just under the lights. It's the big, wide expanses of the stadium, isn't it? It's a huge stadium, and conditions are heavy. There's not much humidity, but just the heavy conditions make the ball swing. And also, you've got world class bowlers as well.
You've also got to make the point we've got world class batters on show, though. So it's not just going to be plain sailing for the bowlers, is it?
No, I don't think it is, and I don't think it'll be particularly plain sailing for the bowlers here anyway. I mean, if England's batsmen can't play swing, then no one can they? And New Zealand are the same. The ball hoops and does all sorts in New Zealand. So I don't see either team being out of their comfort zone. It's not like they've not faced each other either. I mean, Ireland you could have excused for the fact that Mitchell Starc ran through them. When would Ireland have faced Mitchell Starc? But England will have faced Trent Boult, Tim Southey, and vice versa. New Zealand batsmen will have faced Sam Curran. And whoever else swings the ball for England, Chris Woakes said, they'll have faced them all plenty of times. They'll know what they're doing, or should know what they're doing.
I always felt sorry for that Ireland batsman, Camper, wasn't it? It was an absolute beauty, I think that'd have done for anyone.
Yeah, it was fair. When Stark's got his tail up like that, he's the best bowler in world cricket when he's like that, isn't he? So
yeah.
If you're a minnow like Ireland, you just got to hope he's got an off day, or he misses the stumps or whatever. But when he's on it, like you say, anyone would have gone for that.
New Zealand then, and we were taught when they were beating India the other day. I mean, me and you were talking, and I was saying this lot are going to win the World Cup, and the interesting thing with New Zealand is that I think they've got the right conditions required for them to succeed in this tournament. But as you rightly pointed out, the top of their order is strongly influenced by Finn Allen. If he doesn't come off, then it just looks like a potential pack of cards initially, doesn't it?
Yeah, not so much a pack of cards. They just don't go anywhere, do they? If Finn Allen doesn't come off, you can see them being 40 or less at the end of the power play, and they've not really gone anywhere. And then all that's going to do is pile pressure on players that in Williamson or Conway aren't natural hitters of the ball, or going to pile pressure on those who are natural hitters of the ball to make sure they do it. And we kind of saw that in the last game, didn't we? Because if Glenn Phillips had got caught when he should have got caught, and I'm still counting the cost of that financially, if he did get caught, there's every chance they'd have been rolled for 120, 125, not got the whatever it was they got, 170, 180, 190 or whatever it was. So, it's fine margins in T20 cricket, but, you won't get any easier catches than the one Phillips gave Nasanka. He just didn't want to accept the invitation.
No, it was one of those dollies that it totally changed the game. If he catches that, then it is a completely different ball game, isn't it? So New Zealand, though, going well in this tournament, they're the underdogs here. They'll always enjoy being the underdogs. And as far as England are concerned, did they dodge a bullet by that match against Australia getting rained off? It just felt they didn't really have the momentum heading into that game. They might have completely turned it on its head and won, of course. It kept their not dream alive, but hopes alive. They've got to win this game. The loss and it's goodbye. So are you expecting to see the best of England under these sort of circumstances?
Yeah, I am. They've had a week off to reflect where they've gone wrong, haven't they? I mean, to be fair, they didn't really go wrong against Ireland, did they? The rain came at the wrong time. If Moeen Ali had clobbered that last ball for 6, they'd have won the game. So that's the fine margins that you're talking about. He didn't. He only did it for a single, and England lost by 5. So, I mean, obviously, no one could tell when the rain was going to absolutely explode down. So, from that point of view, they were a little unlucky. They're just not as convinced, or haven't been as convincing as A, they were in the warm-up games leading into this series, and B, that you'd expect them to be. But, class acts tend to rise to the occasion, don't they? And if England want to win this tournament, they're going to have to rise to this occasion, and hopefully for them, the 3 that follow.
I've got a feeling that England at 1.67 could look a good bet at the end of this game. I just sense they go well here, and I definitely would have put the mockers on New Zealand by saying they're going to win the tournament. This is the way it always works out. The next game, they fall flat on their ass. So let's see. We've got 3 bets for the game for you. We'll start with one of yours here, Kev. You are liking England to hit over 19.5 boundaries in their innings. It's an interesting one because, you in the previous game, you were saying you liked under boundaries, potentially a wet outfield, used wicket. But you think England can certainly pepper those ropes?
Yeah, well, I think England need to, Steve. The other 2 are playing knockout cricket. England aren't just playing knockout cricket here, but England, there's every chance, isn't there, that if England win this game, England, New Zealand and Australia are all going to finish on 7 points. That would need England to beat Sri Lanka, which they'll be favourites to do. New Zealand to beat Ireland, which they'll be heavy favourites to do. And Australia to beat Afghanistan, which they'll be unbelievable favourites to do. So you're looking at someone's going to miss out on net run rate, aren't they? Now, Australia have got a golden chance, you would think, and we're only playing this out on paper rather than the cricket field, but Australia have got a golden chance to do their run rate some serious damage in Adelaide, of all places, against Afghanistan. So if 1 or 2 of their players gets in Adelaide, those square boundaries could be absolute carnage. New Zealand have also got a chance to do their run rate the world of good. Not that they need to. They're well clear on their net run rate. And that leaves England in a vulnerable position, doesn't it? Because their last game's at Sydney against Sri Lanka, who played very well there the other night, but just couldn't take a catch. So this might be their opportunity on a pitch that the boundaries, certainly one side and straight, are accessible against an attack that they know all too well because these 2 sides play against each other so many times. A lot of them will have been teammates at the IPL. And England don't just need... I mean, obviously, if England win off the last ball, they keep their hopes alive. That's the priority, just winning. But if they get into a position where they can then boost their net run rate and force Australia to beat Afghanistan by an absolutely incredible margin. I mean, they were talking, weren't they, in the coverage on Monday, that it was 75 runs, I think, that Australia beat Ireland by. They'd have gone above England's net run rate, and they beat them by 42. So it's only 33 runs between these 2 sides at the minute. And you would fancy that Australia have got every chance of beating Afghanistan either by 33 runs or sufficient enough if they're chasing to cover that gap. So England could really do with putting a few more runs into that net run rate. So in order to do that, how do you do that? Well, you do that by hitting boundaries. What is England's strength? England's strength is batting, hitting boundaries. You've got Sam Curran in this side, who's going to come in at number 8, and I'll let you talk about him in a minute. But you look at the ones above him. You've got Liam Livingstone at 5. You've got Harry Brook at 6. You've got Moeen Ali at 7. You've also got 2 of the most fearsome openers in world cricket in Alex Hales and Josh Buttler, neither of whom have done anything in this tournament, and they're not going to go 5 games without doing something. So they've got everything that they want. Yes, it will be tough against the new ball because Trent Boult will swing it, Tim Southey will swing it. But if they can get through there, then there is joy to be had. And I expect these boundaries to suddenly start flowing. I've taken the boundaries rather than the sixes, Steve, because if David Milan gets in, he could score an awful lot of fours rather than sixes and would piss us right off if we were on the sixes. So, but either way, whether they come in fours or sixes, I expect England to average 1 and over here, because they do need, if that opportunity presents itself, they do need to work on their net run rate, because they're still vulnerable even if they win both of their games.
Pretty sure David Milan has scored at least an 80 here in the Ashes as well in the GABBA. I'm sure he's played here several times in the Big Bash too. I feel like it's the sort of ground that should suit Milan's batting, really suit his batting. I could see him having a few fours down there to sort of the third man area, backward point for sure. Just dabbles really. Once you pass the infield here, it's 4, isn't it? Simple as that, because it just can race if it's just the normal boundary length anyway. So over 19.5 England boundaries. That includes 4s and 6s off the bat. Hopefully we can get a good one there. I'm going with the performance bet of Sam Curran, over 29.5 performance points. 1 point for each run, 20 for a wicket, 10 for a catch, 25 for a stumping if you're doing wicket keepers. This is just, they've dangled the carrot here with a line under 30. I couldn't help myself because, we're in that same old thing, aren't we? A caught and a bowled, and it's done in one motion. I mean, I'm not playing for a caught and a bowled, but I'm certainly playing for a wicket. I think he gets at least a wicket. Hopefully he gets 5 wickets. Run him out right 80 to 1 top bowler. But I mean, this ball is swinging under the lights. Yeah, he's going to get more swing than any bowler, I think. Perhaps Bolt might match him there. But, I think he can certainly get a wicket. He's not going to bat that low, is he? What would it be, 8, you say, Kev? Just the sort of range that he can come in for a quick 10 or 20, And, catches are catches. You might nab one. He goes around the field, doesn't he? It just seems a low line for someone who does quite a lot in cricket. I expected this line, to be honest, to be about sort of 33 to 35. And then you're thinking, do I need 2 wickets? And you probably do, in fairness, perhaps. So couldn't help myself here, Kev. I wasn't going to bet on anything in this game. But sometimes, that dangling carrot or whatever you want to call it is just too much. I don't know what you think about this one.
Yeah, I like it, Steve. One of the reasons why I don't like New Zealand is they're a batter light. Jimmy Neesham comes in at 6, and you can't call him anything other than an all-rounder. And then Santner's in at 7, and he's a bowling all-rounder at best. I know he can hit a big ball, but I mean, you wouldn't want to rely on him to score 40 or something like that. So, if Curran's bowling at the death, which he will be, and the top overs have done their job, then he's going to be bowling at sort of bowlers, isn't he? So, every chance of that. And then, like you just said, there's every chance that New Zealand will get him in at some point, particularly if England start messing about with left-handers getting them in, because obviously both of the New Zealand spinners turn the ball into the pads of the left-hander, who should be suited that way. And there's only Milan, Stokes, and then Moeen Ali, and then Sam Curran. So they could send him up the order. He hits spin pretty well as well. So, he should be involved in the game from start to finish.
Just thought it looked very, very generous indeed. We're going in the player of the match market now. And incidentally, Sam Curran is 16 to 1 there. He got player of the match, didn't he? Against Afghanistan for the Fifer. Pretty sure he did anyway. He should have. But we're not going with Sam Curran for man of the match. We wouldn't complain if he did get it. But we want Liam Livingstone again. We backed this early on in the tournament, and 14 to 1, his price stays quite big. Big hitting guy. And, there's been a trend, hasn't there? Quite a few man of the matches have been of this sort of ilk, and rightly so, because of their performances, but just the way that they go about their batting.
Yeah, if you think back to the warm-up matches before this tournament, there was one of Liam Livingstone hitting the ball out of this ground against Pakistan. So that kind of shows the damage that he can do. We should say that this is the 81st to 120th over on this pitch, and it's got to be taken turn by this time, Steve. And Liam Livingstone bowls both off spin and leg spin, doesn't he? So it doesn't matter whether New Zealand got a left armour or a right armour in. He's likely to bowl. When they played in the semi-final last year, Livingstone took 2 for 21 off of his overs. Yes, that was in the UAE, spinning conditions and things like that. But New Zealand can't really play spin particularly well. regardless of where it is. I mean, again, if you go back to the last game, Teach Shannon bowled really, really well. And Hasaranga should have had one more wicket than what he got. So they don't play spin particularly well. Probably only Williamson who plays spin well. And I would imagine England will target him with pace anyway, because he's got a bit of an issue outside his off stump with pace, hasn't he? So there's an awful lot of matchups that work very, very well for England in this game. And one of them is Liam Livingstone's spin. And on a pitch that may well be turning by this time, he's definitely going to be in the game there. And I would imagine he's going to bowl probably more than Moeen Ali, because with the exception of Devon Conway, the next three in line, the meat of this New Zealand batting lineup, they're all right-handers. So there's no chance of England bowling an off-spinner to right-handers just for them to hit with the spin. It'll be the leg spin of Adil Rashid and the leg spin of Liam Livingstone. As I've just said, he could easily smoke a few out of the park. He's a good player of spin. These boundaries, even the long boundaries, whichever side that is, that's not big enough for him. I mean, when this guy hits a six, they're 100 metres plus, aren't they? They're absolute bombs. So there's an awful lot to like about Liam Livingstone, and I can't see England winning if he doesn't have a good game. So, cameo with the bat, a wicket or two with the ball. Who knows, maybe even something special in the field as well. And this will suddenly become a very, very, very big prize.
Do you feel that Liam Livingstone is a player that's close to really breaking through properly on the world stage to a huge degree?
I think he's on there already, isn't he? He's been...
really sort of even higher.
Yeah, I mean, he was the leading six-hitter at the IPL last season, so that in itself got him noticed. I actually think he's a better player than he shows for England. He tries to hit every ball for six for England, and he's a so much better player than that. If he picked and chose the balls to hit for six, and then the ones that aren't there, just respect them, get singles, all of a sudden his 30s and 40s in no time would suddenly become 60s and 70s and game-changing, match-winning efforts. So there's still an awful lot more to come from him. However, the role that he's given in this England side is to go and hit everything out of the ground. And when he comes off, he's spectacular. And when he isn't, he needs his teammates to rally around him. So hopefully he comes off here.
Absolutely, indeed. Okay, that will do for this game, because we're overrun a little bit more than I thought. We'll have a recap here on the three bets for the game. Over 19.5 England boundaries at 10 to 11 for 3 units at William Hill. The aforementioned Liam Livingstone man of the match, 14 to 1. Betfair for 1 unit, and my own selection for the game, Sam Curran performance over 29.5 at Bet365 for 3 units. Are you going to give us a match prediction, Kev? Are England going to do it?
Yeah, I think England win the game, Steve. I think New Zealand match up really, really well to them. New Zealand only beat England in that semi-final last year because England fell apart at the death, but they fell apart at the death because of the dew when they were bowling second. There's no dew this time around, and so unless Daryl Mitchell embarks the form that he had in England earlier in the summer, where he could not get out if you paid him, I fully expect England to win. They've got too many matchups that are too much in their favour.
Yeah, I've got a feeling. I feel this group is destined to be decided on that net run rate. It's never that easy for New Zealand. When things start to look good, they find ways to make it difficult for themselves. So I think England win the game. I'm not going to back them at 1.67 because I think it's a fair price. Maybe a smidgen of value, but sometimes you just leave that alone. But hopefully we get some good winners there with our free picks. Thank you very much for watching. Do keep sharing the show with you on Twitter. Hit the like button on YouTube as well. Remember, you can follow us on the socials too. 4 Twitter accounts to follow, plus Kev's website, kevsatssportsbets.com. But yeah, best of luck, Kev, with that. And we'll be back for some more previews in the T20 Cricket World Cup coming again very soon. Goodbye.